Okay, so today's lesson is solving inequalities by adding or subtracting. This is just like solving one-step equations, except instead of an equal sign, we're going to have an inequality sign. Okay, so the addition property of inequality is similar to the addition property of equations. You can add the same value to each side of an inequality. And I'm going to show you an example of that. Say we start with an inequality such as 7 is greater than 3. If I add the same amount to both sides of that inequality, it's still going to be true. So, Devin, pick a number, positive number.
10.
10. Okay, so if I add 10 to both sides, I have 17 is greater than 13, and that is still true. No matter what I add or subtract to each side, that inequality will still be true. Do you believe me, or do we need to try a different number?
I believe you.
All right, next one is the subtraction property of inequality, which is similar. You can subtract the same value from each side of an inequality. So let's do one that's less than or equal to. Let's say 5 is less than or equal to 9. Ross, pick a number to subtract, any positive number. 7. Okay, so if we subtract 7, we get negative 2 is less than or equal to 2. That is still true. No matter what number we pick, whether it's positive or negative, you're still going to get an inequality that's true. So since that's true and since that works, we're going to solve inequalities the same way that we solve equations by using inverse operations. What do I mean by inverse operations? Irene?
If it's adding, you're going to subtract, and if it's subtracting, you're going to add.
Yep, we're going to do the opposite. So to undo addition, we will subtract. To undo subtraction, you will add. Okay, let's take a look at how this looks. So if we want to solve this inequality, our goal is the same as it is for equations. We need to get the variable by itself on one side. So I want to get n by itself, so I need to get rid of minus 6. I do that by doing the opposite, which is adding 6. Because when I add 6 to negative 6 on that side, it will now be 0. The variable will be by itself. So I end up with n is greater than 7. And then you're going to graph your solutions. You get a little more practice doing this. So greater than, there's no equals there, so we're going to use an open circle. Our arrow is going to go to the right. So any number that's greater than 7 would make that inequality true. So let's pick a number that's greater than 7.
9.
Let's pick, okay, 9. So let's take 9 minus 6 and see if that's greater than 1. 9 minus 6 is 3, and 3 is greater than 1. What would happen if we picked 7? Would that work? Let's try it. 7 minus 6 is greater than 1. We get 1 is greater than 1. That's not true. 1 is not greater than 1. Right. That's what the open circle means. It means we can't include that number. It's like right on the edge of not making it true. So that number, anything less than 7, would not make that inequality true. For example, if we used 1, we'd have 1 minus 6 is greater than 7. We'd have negative 5, I'm sorry, greater than 1. Negative 5 is greater than 1, and that's not true. Okay, 2 for you to try, and we'll move on to subtracting. Okay, this is pretty quick. Jake, tell me how you do number 1.
subtract or add 3 from to 3, you get y.
Okay, let's start out by saying add 3 to both sides. So let's write out what we're going to do. Okay, so we get y.
Y is less than 7.
Good. And what does that look like on the graph?
An open circle on 7 with the arrow going to the left.
Good. Boy, that was a giant open circle that I made there. Okay, very good. Any questions about that one? Okay, Elena, next one.
I added 5 to 3 and
Okay.
and I got m is greater than or equal to -8. Or just 8.
8, okay. Okay, and what does that look like on the number line?
A closed circle on 8 and down to the bottom.
Good. Okay, let's move on to subtracting. So for this one, we have y plus 7 is greater than or equal to 12. Again, our goal is to get y by itself. So we need to get rid of the plus 7. If we subtract 7 from both sides, 7 minus 7 is 0. So we'll be left with y is greater than or equal to 12 minus 7 is 5. So we have a closed circle on 5. Y is greater than or equal to 5. Okay, 2 for you to try once again. Okay, I think we're ready for this already. Jimmy, tell me how to do the first one. Subtract 9 from and Wait, I'm not done. I'm not just subtracting 9 from one side. I'm subtracting 9 from both sides. Yeah, you always have to say it's from both sides. All right, so you get x is greater than what? Okay, so x is greater than -4. We need to finish writing out our solution. Whenever I ask you to solve these, I want you to write out the inequality itself and then also the graph. So you need to have both. Okay, so now what would the graph look like? Mm-hmm. And what way does the arrow go? Mm-hmm. Okay. Taryn.
You would subtract 4 from both sides.
Good, well said.
Then it would be the W is less than or equal to -9 to same side, same sign as D.
Good.
And
Excellent
then
explanation.
you would just put a closed circle at -9,
Mhm.
because the arrow would go to the left.
Good. Jimmy.
I thought it was only for like the greater than or less than equal to, but that's why I kind of did more. Because I did both on the other.
You did. Wait, you thought what was only for less than or equal to?
Like if it wasn't, if it didn't have equal to, then you didn't have to put both of them.
What do you mean by both?
Subtract.
Oh no, you have to do it to both sides regardless whether it's equals or, yeah. It's any inequality, you have to do the same thing to both sides, otherwise it's not the same inequality anymore. Okay. Last thing is inequality word problems. And these are where they get a little tricky because you have to make sure you understand the meaning. Yes, Zoe?
So I had the
Oh, did you go ahead to the word problems? Okay, I actually want to talk about this, so I'll come back to you if I need to. Devin, do you have a question?
For the last one, so is it just like if it's the less than sign, it would go over to the left, and then if it's a greater than sign, it goes over to the right?
Yeah. However, you have to solve your inequality before you can place your arrow. You'll see why when we do multiplication or division. The arrow direction does not change when you're doing adding and subtracting, but sometimes it does when you're doing multiplying or dividing. Sometimes it changes the direction of the arrow. So you want to solve the inequality first before you try to graph it. Okay. A school bus can safely carry as many as 76 students. If 19 students are already on the bus, how many more can board the bus? So just like we do for equations, we first have to define a variable. So who wants to say what our variable could be? Grace?
S.
S? What's S going to stand for?
How many more students can be given just?
Okay, so let S equal, what's how many more students can board the bus. And that seems kind of long, but we really kind of need all of that information because we don't just want to say S is the number of students, because the number of students could be how many are on the bus altogether, not just how many more. So we really kind of need all that information. So if we were to write an expression for the number of students on the bus, we have a few clue words. We have that the bus can safely carry as many as 76 students. So we know that our total is going to be 76. What inequality sign would we need to put here? Zoe?
Greater to equal to like 76.
Like this?
Yeah, the other way.
The other way. Okay, the other way would be that 76 is greater than or equal to, like this. Okay, that makes sense. The total number of students on the bus has to be less than or equal to 76. We can have 76 because it says as many as 76, but we can't have more than 76. Okay, so what could we write now as an expression for the number of students who are on the bus? Devin?
19 plus S.
Yeah, 19 plus S. So 19, the number of students who are already on the bus, plus the number of students who are going to board the bus has to be less than or equal to 76. Okay, let's check, see what we end up with. Subtracting 19 from both sides gives us S is less than or equal to 57. Now let's see if that makes sense. We're saying that the number of students who can still board the bus has to be less than or equal to 57. So since it could be equal to 57, that should work. If we go back to our original situation, we have 19 students on the bus. If we add 57 more, we're going to get 76. So that would work because we can have 76 on the bus. If we pick a number less than 57, let's pick 10 just to make it easy. 19 plus 10 would be 29. 29 students would fit on the bus. If you wrote it wrong and you put S is greater than or equal to 57, you might try a number like 60. And you might say 19 plus 60 would be 79. That's too many students. You can't fit 79 students on a 76 or less student bus. So always check your answers. A lot of times people will get the inequality signs flipped around in their minds, but if you check some numbers, it's going to make more sense. Okay, I want you to try the next one, and then we will talk about it. Eve, what did you get as an answer?
I got 19.
Well, you can't just get a number. You have to have an inequality in there.
X is greater than or equal to 91.
Okay, X is greater than or equal to 91 is what Eve got. What inequality did you use to start with?
109 plus X and X equals how many? 1.2
Okay.
is greater than or equal to 200 because you have to get more than 200.
Okay, so you have to get more than 200. So if you get 200, is that okay? What do you guys think? Now, if it says more than 200, it means more than 200. So 200 itself would not be acceptable because it has to be more than 200. You could have like 200.1 maybe, or 200.000001, but it can't be 200 itself. So the only change I would make to that would be to take out the equals part of that inequality. Okay, so then we end up with an answer of x is greater than 91. So let's check that. Let's pick a number greater than 91. Let's pick 100, because that's a nice easy one. So if we picked 100, let's check that in our original thing. You need more than 200 points. You already scored 109, so 109 plus 100 would be 209. That's more than the 200 that you need. So that would be correct. Okay, any questions about that? Okay, we are going to do a short exit ticket. I do have a homework paper for you, which I will pass out. However, it's the weekend coming up. I don't always like to give weekend homework. Remember that I will not be here on Monday. I am not going to have him collect the homework Monday, so I will not be checking the homework until Tuesday. So if you want to work on it on Monday combined with the other worksheet that you'll have on Monday, you certainly can do that. I would use class time now to do it, but if you don't get it done over the weekend, I think you will have ample time. All right.